What's going on, everybody?
Oh my God.
We have some extra sounds going on.
We're just partying over here, you know?
Oh, we're about to loop.
And we're good.
It got a little wild for a second.
Sorry.
We were having some fun. Welcome to. I feel like we're a little not super bright, and that might just be because I'm not super bright. There we go. Perfect.
Oh my gosh. We're starting out so great.
This is great. So, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Geared Up. This is our live broadcast where we just talk about, lighting, photography, different types of lighting techniques, just having fun, talking about things that you want to talk about, learning some cool stuff, taking your questions, and just rocking and rolling. If you're watching this on prophoto.com, you're going to see some stuff pop up around the screen. Those are just like, when I say B10X, you'll see a B10X pop up. If you want to learn some more about what the heck we're talking about, or if we're talking about a modifier, like we'll talk about umbrellas today, and you want to know like how big is an extra large umbrella, you can click on that thing and it give you all the details, which is really cool. If you're watching this on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, you're not going to get that. If you want it, I'm going to hit enter right now on the chat, and you can click the link in that, and you can go and watch it on prophoto.com if you'd like to. If not, kick it with us right where you are. We're going to be having a lot of fun. Let's talk about what we're getting into today. So a couple of weeks ago, we did a live talking about blending your flash with your ambient light, and you had some really good questions. You wanted to know, really, first and foremost, some people wanted to see cross lighting and how that looks in comparison to what we talked about in light placement. But some other people were wondering, what could you do to bring down some of the highlights and stuff in the background of the scene? The shot that I chose and the way that I set it generally has some of the stuff being blown out. So we're going to talk about that on the video that we're going to roll here just in a second, and it should be really, really good. So we're going to go ahead and kick that video off. Hang with us. I'll be here in the comment section, so if you have any questions, I can comment while it's happening, and then we can also talk about it at the end, where we can pull up the photos again and look at those bad boys. So with that being said, roll that beautiful beam footage. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another Geared Up Outside. This is going to be a little bit of a revisit from where we were talking about how do you blend your flash with your ambient light. You guys had some questions that we couldn't necessarily answer because we pre-record this just to kind of make sure that we don't have any streaming issues. It's because record this just to kind of make sure that we don't have any streaming issues.
Let's jump it back.
All right, hold on just 1 second. We're going to restart this because we thought we had a technical issue, but we're good. All right, cool.
Ready? Let's do it.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another Geared Up Outside. This is going to be a little bit of a revisit from our last Outside Live where we were talking about how do you blend your flash with your ambient light. You guys had some questions that we couldn't necessarily answer because we pre-record this just to kind of make sure that we don't have any streaming issues. So in the pre-record, you had some questions about what we had done that I couldn't really show you because we weren't out on location. So that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to revisit some of those, answer some of those questions that you had, show you what crosslight was, because that was one of the other things that people wanted to see, and all in all, just see if we can address some of your questions. So that being said, let's first start off with, if you didn't even see the last Geared Up, what we're talking about where you blend your flash with your ambient light, let's just talk about how we go about doing that. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to place a big, soft modifier on the same side as the sun. So the reason we want to go large with the modifier, something large and soft, is because if you start to introduce a second light and it's a hard light source like a magnum reflector, or you're shooting bare head or something like that, it's going to cause more shadows to appear. So the sun will create some more hard shadows, then your light will create some hard shadows, and then that's going to start to give away the fact that, hey, there's a flash in the scene. So we want to go soft with the modifier, and we want to put it on the same side as the sun. The reason that we want it on the same side of the sun is because if you start to cross light your subject, which means putting your light on the opposite side of your subject from the sun, it's going to look like there's light coming from this direction and light coming from this direction. It's going to give away that there is another light in the scene. So big modifier, same side as your subject, boom. That's going to be some of the first things you want to do. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to use your shutter speed to control the ambient light to where it's not too dark. You want to start to bring up some of that ambient light so it's not too contrasty, because if you're taking a natural light shot, a lot of the times if you're not using a reflector like that, you're just kind of walking around with your subject. If it's a soft light and you're not using the direct sun to light your subject, what's going to happen is you're going to have to slow your camera down or open your camera up in some way, shape, or form to bring light onto your subject, right? And in doing sometimes you're going to lose the sky. The background's going to start to come up. So you have to remember those things. What we're trying to do is create a natural light looking shot, but add a little pop with flash. So can you lose the sky sometimes? Yes. Maybe I didn't explain this very well in the last live, but the idea is to make the scene look like you're taking a natural light shot, and then just adding a little bit of a sparkle, a little bit of flare by throwing in the flash, making it look a little different than it would have looked, a little more polished than it would have looked had you not used the flash. But that being said, some people were wondering, hey, is there any way we can recover the sky but also keep that look? And we're going to explore that with another modifier today. So let's do first things first. We're going to have Kate come in here. We're going to take some shots of the background. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about, like what I would prefer for my background to look like for this technique. And then we're going to speed the shutter up and bring the background light down some more, and then try to recover the highlights in the sky a little bit more. And then we're going to introduce other lights too to see if we can help fill the scene with light. So I'm going to show you cross light right now, or I'm going to show you the background right now. Then we're going to throw in another light just so I can show you cross light. And then we're going to make our image. So that should be very fun. You ready to rock and roll, Kate?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. So just so you, are we super sourcing right now? So right now you're seeing like this big, huge umbrella. We're not going to shoot with that just for a second. It's off. The only thing that you're going to see us shooting with for this cross light shot is going to be this single umbrella right here. Flip it over so you can see what it is. It is the Profoto Deep White Large. We use the white umbrellas just because they cast a more even light, edge to edge. There's no spotting of the light like you would get with a silver. So that's why we went with the white umbrellas. So here's what we're going to do first. I'm going to show you some background options, and that way you can kind of understand what I'm talking about whenever we're trying to sort out the background. So if I was setting this up for my personal taste, I would probably go right around here with my shutter speed, around 200th of a second. I'm just taking a photo of you real fast, Kate. So 3, 2, 1. So that's what I would go with if I was doing this my way, and I didn't care, and I personally didn't care about the sky, and I personally don't care about the sky that much. I mean, I could always. Did you see the flash? I don't have the flash on. Okay. It's just showing people the screen. So if you wanted to recover the background, you would speed that shutter up. Let's speed the shutter up some. So if you wanted to kind of recover that sky and not have it so blown out, you would probably go to something like a 500th of a second or like 1,000th of a second. So let's go 500 and 1,000. And so the differences you're going to see there is there's a lot more contrast in the scene, right? The light spot's light, and then down here in the shadows it's really dark and contrasty. So let's start there, or actually let's not start there. I'm going to bring it back up a little bit, just so we can talk about cross light, and then I'm going to show you why bringing a flash in when the light's too contrasty is a problem. So we'll go to 500th of a second. Let's take the camera off so we can take the gray card shot.
You need gray card shot?
Yeah, gray card shot.
Lots of little ants.
Yep, we're bugging today.
It's a buggy time of year in Georgia.
We're bugging. 3, 2, 1. Oh, trigger's not on. One more time for the fun of it. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Perfect.
Great.
Oh, let's make sure that we're in auto FP again, because I think I saw.
One more time.
Hold on a second. Let me just check my camera. Yeah, let's get over to FP. Boom. Cool. So let's do this one more time. 3, 2, 1. So we're above 500th of a second, so we have to be in high-speed sync. Or we're above 2/50th of a second on my camera, so I have to be in high-speed sync. So just had to make sure we were flipped over into that mode. So let's show you, actually, I did that exposure, but I needed the light to be over here for the cross light. But I think let's do this first, since I already kind of started doing this. What I wanted to show you is the difference it makes when you have too much contrast in the scene for the image you're creating. So I'll show you both that 500th of a second and that 1000th of a second. So we're still at 500th of a second. So if I flash the image now, it looks like there is a flash in the scene, right? Because there's clearly a light coming from a direction, still coming from the same side as your sunlight, but now because there's all this extra contrast, there's an issue with too much darkness, so it doesn't look as natural anymore. So this is why you want to start to slow that shutter speed down and bring that ambient light up. Granted, I have my camera cocked really low, so you're not even actually seeing. Oh, let's fix this. Apparently I bumped my camera. There we go. There's my frame I actually want. So let's take a shot really fast. Make sure that the book isn't, so cheat the book off to, so it's not being blocked by the, maybe the other way. Yeah, just so the light's not blocking it. But cheat your nose back this way a little bit. And pretend like you're looking at the book, but look away from it. Yeah, there we go. 3, 2, 1. There we go. So there's the image with the framing that I'd be using. And again, really contrasty. So, and the same thing's gonna happen if I bump up to 1,000th of a second to get some of that sky back. 3, 2, 1. You're gonna see that it looks really flashy, right? So that's a look. It's not the look that I'm going for. If it's the look that you like in your images, that's totally fine. But for the sake of this, we're trying to blend your flash with your ambient light. And at this point, we're starting to separate our flash from the ambient light by introducing contrast. So what we do is we slow it down, bop, bop. Take this thing to kind of like where I wanted, like 1/60, 200th of a second. And if I add this flash in, 3, 2, 1. It's just a nice subtle pop. I'm gonna turn this off really fast and take a shot without it so you can see what it looks like. 3, 2, 1. So you can see what it looks like without that flash in there. So that being said, that's why you want to try to mitigate the contrast, right? So sometimes you have to give up something to get something. In this case, in order to get a natural looking shot, I had to give up the sky. It's just what I had to give up. So, and I made that creative decision. Now, again, I can go into Photoshop and I could replace the sky. I could do a crop and get rid of some of the sky, but it's just, it is what it is. So let's pretend that we didn't have to give up anything to get something. Although I guess technically we're giving up something because we're gonna have to introduce another flash, which means we're gonna have to give up some more money from our wallet, buy a flash. We're gonna have to give up some space. We're gonna have to give up some space in our car by adding another flash, but that's fine. We're gonna do all that stuff. So I'm gonna show you that here in just a second. Let's talk cross light first, since we're still in the one light realm, and then we'll bring in that second light and we'll have some fun. But yeah,
if I go check everything over here.
Sure, you can go check really fast. So all I'm gonna do for this shot is, one, make sure that my light stand is actually locked into place so it stops creeping. And I'm gonna bring this light over here, which is what a lot of people do. I've seen a lot of people when they're photographing cross light. Everyone always is like, oh, the sun's over there, so I'll just do this and just use the sun as a hair light. Which, with my technique, you're still using the sun as a hair light. It's technically the main, but it's lighting the hair and giving some separation. But this way is a straight up cross light. Yeah, ready to rock and roll. So I'm gonna take another gray card shot just to keep things simple. The reason I'm taking a gray card shot, and just in case anyone's wondering if you didn't see my how to set up your light outside in one shot, the gray card shot, if I take a TTL shot with the gray card, it nails the exposure. So then I can just flip over to manual mode, hold that exposure in place, and we're good to go.
You need to aim the gray card towards the
light? Yeah,
light.
towards the light. Okay. turn the trigger off while we go. One more time for friends. Here we go. Perfect. So we're gonna, from there, we took that TTL shot of the gray card, we're gonna flip our trigger into manual mode, and now our power setting's locked into place. So now let's see what this shot looks like with a cross light. Make sure we have the frame. Make sure we're in focus. 3, 2, 1. All right, there we go. That was the cross light shot. Again, because we have the contrast low, it looks relatively natural, but just, it went off. Because of the direction of the light, I just went and looked at it again. I saw it in the back of my camera, but because of the direction of the light, it doesn't feel so, it kind of feels like there's something there, like a reflector or something bouncing some light back into the scene. Whereas when we have that light on the same side, and we'll compare this here in a few minutes. I'll bring up both of the shots that are cross-lit and not cross-lit, and we'll compare those so you can see it. But yeah, it's, to me, you can tell that there's a flash there. So with that grand culmination of cross-light and background control, let's talk about bringing the sky back. So we're going to start with placing our light back where we want it, same side as the sun. I might kick it around a little bit more. So same side as the sun. She's going to be looking this direction for the most part, so the light should be hitting her in the face, no problem. And again, the sun's coming from this direction, so this should feel like a nice wrap. What we're going to do, I'm going to keep this light off. Actually, I don't have to. I already took the photos of the dark.
Yeah.
So you've already seen what it looks like whenever the shutter speed is bumped up to like 500 and 1000, how dark this area is. So we're going to, when someone asked me about this on the last live, my brain automatically went to go into an extra large umbrella in white, backing it up a bit so it can try to fill the scene up a little bit more, and see if we can bring the contrast down here while maintaining that sky up there. So that's what we're going to try to do right now. So gear wise, just so you know, we now have a B10X Plus on with an extra, or with a large white umbrella there. That's going to be our light for Kate. Then we have a B10X Plus on stand with an extra large white umbrella. I went B10X Plus because I knew I was going to be backing some stuff up. I knew I was going to be in high-speed sync. Sometimes having that little bit of extra power helps, especially when you're using soft modifiers and not hard modifiers. So that's why I chose the lights that I chose, and that's why we are where we are. So, do what?
Gray card?
Yeah, we're gonna take the gray card shot. I just gotta make sure I have to turn this light back on. So, and then again, cool thing about the remotes is I can power all these things on and off from the trigger. So we're back. So we're going to set the B light one stop lower than the main light. So, and let's take this TTL shot. So we're in TTL mode. Kick it back towards me a little bit. There we go. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Actually, we here's what we need to do first. I'm putting the cart ahead of the horse. What we need to do first is we need to set the background to something that has the light recovered. I'm kind of getting, like, again, ahead of myself. So let's,
That's my fault.
yeah, it's fine. Let's sit right here for a second. Let's look at our, I'm gonna turn the flash off just so we can I can show you what we're looking at. So let's speed the shutter up to, let's go to 500. You could, I mean, if you start cranking it up hard, you'll start getting some of that stuff back, but let's go to 500. Because I think that's going to be, maybe we can even bump it to 640. Because I think, let's stay at 500, because I think that'll be a nice, happy, you okay?
Sorry.
You're good.
There's like so many bugs here today.
Yeah, I'm going to go to, I think I'm going to go to 640, I think that, or 800, that should give me what I'm looking for. So here we go. That's what 800 looks like on the shutter speed. So let's see if we can save the shot and make it look a little more natural while saving the sky. Let's see if we can do it with our 2 lights. And we might have to finesse the shutter speed a little bit, but we'll see what happens. So here we go, Kate, can you get that gray card?
Oh, my bad. Great.
Now that we have our shutter speed set the way we want, I have our camera settings right on the money. Take this gray card shot. 3, 2, 1. Oh, got to put back in high-speed sync again. would be an issue if we weren't in high-speed sync. Perfect. All right, auto FP, there we go. Let's get this focus. 3, 2, 1. Lovely, that's gray, baby. So let's see what this looks like. Let's flip into manual mode, so our power sets. Again, another reason that I have us set to, I brought B10X Pluses. My power level on that main light with Kate is 9.9. So I'm right at full power. So here's the shot with just that one light again that I was talking about. 3, 2, 1. So that's just the one light again. You see that the foreground is really, really dark. We kick on this big, huge, deep white XL. 3, 2, 1. Oh, my front light didn't fire. 3, 2, 1. There we go. So that's starting to bring that ambient light up again. And what I could do is I could even bump it some more. Let's take this up to like 9.5. 3, 2, 1. So that's starting to look nice. The only downside, and I might be able to change this a little bit with camera angle. I might experiment with it, but the only downside is this tree shadowing back here. So all the stuff back here in the scene is still pretty dark. I don't have a light on it, and I don't have another light with me to bring. So again, it's gonna be kind of walking that fine line. So what I could probably do, and what I probably will do here in just a second, is I'll probably slow my shutter speed down just a little bit, just to start to bring this back up. And then we'll probably strike that nice balance between trying not to have the sky and the trees too blown out, but also not having too much contrast. So let's try that really, really fast. We'll look at some photos, we'll call it a day. Cool. So, first things first, let's turn off the trigger and see if we can find a sky that we can agree with. Let's slow down, let's go to, so we're 800 of a second, let's go to 500 of a second. The sky's not too blown out, the trees are definitely not crispy. I think that looks pretty good. So let's stay at 500 of a second, 2.8, and just so you can see the shot, boom, right there. Sweet? Sweet. So now, let's take this forward. Let's kick on our trigger in TTL mode. You mind grabbing that gray card for me? So let's put our trigger into TTL mode. Again, set a stop lower than the main card. You kick it like kind of halfway in between. And I'm gonna try not to go too far and pull my camera out of tether. There we go, 3. Let's make sure that we are in, oh, I think I did. I did not, we're good. Let's make sure that we are in FP mode. Let's do that right now. Make sure we're talking. Perfect. Let's go here. Perfect. Now we are in FP because we are above our camera shutter speed. So 3, 2, 1. That's a nice gray card shot. Beautiful. Hopefully you can see that as my laptop was spinning around. Perfect. You can see the gray card shot. That's lovely. Okay. Let's, I'm gonna kick my tether cable up here a little bit because it's getting grumpy. I have a jerk stopper for the camera, but I don't have anything to like hold it to my tether station. But that's a nice gray card shot. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna flip into TTL mode, or I'm sorry, we're gonna flip out of TTL mode into manual mode. And we are going to do this. So here we go, set back into place. So let's do this without the big light. Let's just do the main light on Kate. 3, 2, 1. So that's the main light on Kate. Let's bring in the big light. 3, 2, 1. And that looks nice. Honestly, I probably want to bring the big light up a little bit more. So let's bring that up to a power level of 8.0. We're about 7.4. So 3, 2, 1. And that's starting to look pretty good. Honestly, I could probably bring this up a little bit more. Let's go to 8.5 on the ambient light power. 3, 2, 1. And that's not too bad. It's not per se the exact way that I would love the image, but it doesn't look bad. It looks pretty darn good. We have the scene filled in really, really nicely. Again, I think my biggest hang up is just that background area where it's a little bit darker. But if I go here to highlights in my adjustments, I can pull that back a little bit. I can pull the whites back a little bit. It's not too overly blown out. I mean, I lost the sky in that shot. Let's see if we go to more of the darker shot here. See what we can pull back. So we can't recover the blue, but the trees aren't blown out. So it looks nice. Again, it's creative decisions that you make to, get the shot that you want to get to. I think we're good, Kate.
All right.
Cool. So let's just look at a couple of the photos really fast. Let's see what things are looking like in the world of blending your flash with the ambient light. And yeah, we'll have some fun with it. So let's see. So when we were talking earlier about having your background, as it gets more contrasty, it starts to look more flashy. That one's got the book in front of the face. I think we have one without the book. It's fine. We'll just roll with the book in front of the face. And then that's also the one where I didn't have my camera angle right on the money. So let's go here and bring up these three. So when you're looking at these images right here, so you're trying to keep things from being super blown out. But what happens again is this starts to get really contrasty, and the more you speed that shutter up and you start to lose that background, the more contrasty this is going to get. And when you have a light introduced in the shot, actually, let's get rid of, do I have one with the light in there? Just because I'd rather you see that. Oh, you know what? That one's on my camera when I lost tether just a second ago. We'll add that back in there in a second, or we'll add that back in there in the video. But the nice thing, oh no, I took the photo. Here's the photo right here. So I did bring it up. I'm a dum-dum. So, but by bringing all that ambient light up here to make it look a little more natural, you have this really nice, super soft, like fill light where you're not getting too much contrast. The fill on Kate matches the fill on the ground, which is important to making sure that it feels like there's no flash there. But the flash is adding just that little bit of pop that you wouldn't have gotten without the flash, right? So very cool stuff. And then, all the typical things. Let's talk about, let's bring all three together. So we had a background, a single flash, and then we brought in the fill. So this shot right here is what just the shutter speed the way that it was, no flash in there whatsoever. This is the main light right here. It still looks really nice. We have a nice amount of light here to the front, but it's still probably maybe a touch dark and making it feel a little more flashy. Whereas if you start to bring in this big fill light, this big extra large umbrella, it starts to feel nice and soft and natural. So that's kind of why, that's where my brain led me to whenever we first had these conversations about using your flash, not letting things get blown out too much in the background. How would you do that? So I think we did a pretty good job. It's not, for me, for my taste, I prefer the original way where I lose a little bit of a lot more of the sky, just because again, the background feels a little more natural. But the cool thing about all this stuff is we get to make our own creative decisions, right? We understand what we're doing, we understand why we're doing it, and then we just, that's our style. That's how we own that kind of stuff. So, do you think I missed anything, Kate?
No, I think you got it.
No, it was super good live. So I'm here in the comment section too while this is going on. So if you have any questions, ask them. I'll try to answer them there. But I think, really, really fast. I'm just looking for my cross light photo.
Would you like me to go back to the images?
Hang on just a second. Let me try to find my cross light photo just because we were talking about showing that, but I think maybe my camera came disconnected for that. Yeah, I think my camera was disconnected for the cross light shot. So what we'll do is we'll bring up the cross light shots on the screen in this section right here, and yeah, or I'll bring up the cross light shots whenever we talk here in just a second at the end of this thing. So, but thank you so much for watching this bad boy, and I'll send it back to myself in the studio. Peace out. What's going on, everybody? That was pretty awesome. Yeah, so one thing whenever I was watching the video playback with you a lot, so the reason that you see me going back and forth a lot to retake the grade card shot is when you go above your camera shutter speed and you go into high speed sync, the system kind of has to reprocess its timing codes, so the power is going to change. Whereas like if you're normally below your camera's, if you're below your camera sync speed, and you're making shutter speed adjustments, but you're staying below the camera sync speed, the exposure on your light doesn't change. When you go into high speed sync, that changes a little bit. So that's why as opposed to like the previous videos where I kind of just take the shot and then we work through some stuff, because we're working through different shutter speeds to try to figure out that ambient light balance. And we're in high speed sync for most of that. That's why you see me having to go back and retake that gray card shot. So just in case you were wondering, because it was, as I was watching the video, I noticed that, hey, I'm going back and taking that a lot just to not be ultra confused. Someone was also asking, why don't I just stay in TTL mode? For me, and it might just be because I'm a little more of a control freak with some of my stuff, but I like knowing that my light's not going to change on me. So like, we didn't have to worry about it so much on the day that we shot this, but the first time that we did this, shoot, the first blending version, there was a lot of intermittent cloud cover. So it would be super sunny and then it would be dark. It'd be sunny and dark. And so the TTL is just trying to see that whole overall scene and make it 18% gray. So if the light keeps shifting, my light might keep shifting. So I just flip it into manual mode just to ensure that this is the correct exposure and it's going to stay there. So that's kind of why I was there on that. Let me see if there are any other questions before I jump into, cool. So let's just look at, so one of the things, let me pull it up really fast because I wanted to show you the cross light photo. Let me just hunt it down really fast. I may not have selected it into this selects group. Let me just, let me grab this cross light photo, because one of the things that we wanted to talk about when we were doing all of this is we wanted to get into the discussion of why, what cross light looks like. So let's just make sure that we have that photo in here for you to see. I just got to scroll through really quick. Oh, there it is. Let me add this to my perfect. Now we're good to go. So let's pull up this cross light shot that I just added in here. Oh, get back here. Get back here. I just had the wrong thing selected. So let me just pull up that cross light shot. Oh, there it is. So cross light shot versus, let's go to something. I'm trying to find something that's a little more balanced. Oh, you know what? You know what I need? I need to go up here. So across, this is awesome. I clearly wasn't prepared to demo this. This is what I need. Let's get rid of this one. So your cross light shot, and granted, this exposure right here is probably a little more over than what I want to, and I don't have that ambient balanced. This one doesn't really help my argument too much with the cross light, just because we have it balanced in such a way that this cross light looks really, really nice. But this light is coming from this direction, and then you have more light coming from this direction. You can kind of see it with like the highlight on the arms and stuff like that, highlights on the hat and whatnot. So there is light coming from this direction, and then there's also light, be it a nice soft light, still coming from this direction. It looks lovely. Again, just like if you start to add some more contrast, like in here, you can start to separate your light and your ambient light, and that's going to start making it look really, really flashy. I guess if I compared this more to my final image, then that would make a little bit more sense. But again, cross light, especially if you go with something like a harder light too, where we're kind of forgiven here a little bit, is that we're using a big soft light source. If you're using something harder, if you decided that you wanted to make that power up and go with like a Magnum or a Zoom, or if you just went bare head, the shadow difference is really gonna start to drive that point home, because you'll have light again coming from two different directions. So let me see. Jump back over to me really fast. I want to see if I have any, or can you see over there, or are there any questions that popped up?
It looks like we've answered mostly everything. Stay at TTL mode. You answered that.
Yeah, we talked about TTL modes and stuff like that. So again, it really comes down to at the end of the day, when you're balancing out your flash and your ambient light, the most important thing to pay attention to is the difference in contrast. The contrast that you're getting between what your flash producing and your ambient light. So the reason, again, that I don't mind the sky being a little more blown out, the trees being a little bit brighter, is because I'm bringing up that ambient light, that natural fill light that you would be using in a natural light shot. And then I'm just adding in a flash to augment that a little bit more, to kind of put your eyes right on the subject, to kind of just polish it a little bit more. And so that's why the technique works. Again, light, big light source on the same side that the sun's coming from. That way it feels like it's wrapping. And then again, keeping that ambient light, a little bit brighter, so the fill light is a little bit smoother. Works out really, really nice. What we were able to do is achieve some of that fill light coming up by going with that big, huge, extra large umbrella. So the nice thing is we still had that main light kind of hitting Kate and looking like the light wrapping. Honestly, with this shot right here, it's probably a little more. Let's actually get down here to these shots. Let's talk about. Yeah, let's talk about these right here. So let me get let's get this window out of the way. Here we go. Let's get rid of the tools. And that way it goes, let's get rid of the browser. Perfect. So now we have some larger images. So again, here, what we did with this is kind of like that first shot. And then we just brought up that background light a little bit more. So that big, huge, extra large umbrella, we brought that up, and then we wound up right here. You can actually see the difference in the fill light here. So fill light's a little bit darker. This is where we brought it up. So I think that fill light was about 7.4 here. We brought that power level up to 8 right here, 8-ish. And then right around here, we went around 8.5, 9-ish. And that's going to actually start to bring all that light back up here. It's going to start to introduce some more light onto the trees and stuff like that. Again, my only real hang up was always this little dark spot back here. I probably, in retrospect, if I had a second extra large umbrella, which I didn't have, I might have been able to put the extra large umbrella here where the large was and back it up a little bit further away from Kate. The nice thing is by going with a bigger modifier, you can back it up and start to get kind of that same softness. But maybe with an extra large modifier here, I could have gotten some more of that big area coverage that maybe I would have needed to kind of clean this up a little bit for me. So again, just understanding why you make some of the decisions you make, being able to work through that stuff. I wasn't thinking about it on the fly, but in retrospect, I would have, again, added a little something right there, maybe back that extra large umbrella up to open this up a little bit. But it still looks really, really good. So our trees aren't nearly as bright as the original image. We did lose the sky. It was a bright day, so we didn't have any type of cloud cover or anything like that. We shot this at the exact same time that we shot the original, which was around 11 a.m. In the morning. So that way, when you saw the original, what you're seeing now, this is all the same scenery. The only difference really is on the first day that we shot, we had more cloud cover. So every once in a while, you would see the scene change. So, but honestly, I think we did a pretty good job of blending it while keeping the shutter speed a little bit higher up, more around 500 to 640th of a second, just to bring some of that brightness down. And then we filled in the scene really nicely to give a nice reduction of contrast to even things out. So the one thing I will say that I do like a little bit more about, let's get rid of these two and kind of compare. Hold on a second. Normally my browser just lets me do my thing, but today it's kind of fighting me a little bit. So something that I like a little bit about this, and this also could just be that it's super flat from the cross light. One of the things I do like about the shot that is maybe a little more contrasty than I would particularly like is the separation of Kate from the background. Granted, this is the cross light shot. I don't think I have a really nice blended, one of my blended versions. Hold on just one second. You know what I do have? We're in the same session. Give me just a moment and we can bring up one of the originals. And I think that would be what we really need to look at. So let's go to my tools right here. Let's go to the capture folder. So one of the originals up here. All right, here we go. I think we need to go. Oh, you know what? It's in the selects folder. It is not in the selects folder. I was definitely wrong about that. Oh well, whatever. Maybe we can't do that today. But it came out really, really nice. Again, I would probably walk back and forth a little bit between my shutter speeds. Maybe I come down below 500 a little bit just to kind of keep some of the darkness in the background because I do like that separation. And yeah, just really, really fun stuff. Let me make sure I haven't missed out on any questions. And is anyone popped up on anything? Are we good?
C and Ink says, random question.
You wouldn't be...
Your favorite model? Answer carefully.
Who's my favorite model? Myself. I take a lot. I take a lot of self portraits. And then someone would be surprised if I didn't say the A word for a colleague of mine. So I'll probably bring it up at some point in time in the next like couple seconds. But that being said, this was a lot of fun. Again, just remember the main kind of blanket rule in blending those flashes in your ambient is keep that contrast low, slow the shutter speed down. So once you start pumping that bad boy up and you start getting really dark backgrounds, it's really going to be obvious. So slow the shutter speed down, use a big soft modifier, try to bring it from the same side as your light, and you will be blending your flash with your ambient light like a pro. That being said, thank you so much for kicking it with us. It's been super duper fun. If you have any questions about any of the stuff that we talked about and you want to talk about it on a one-on-one basis, you can talk to one of us at ProPhoto. So it could be either myself, could be Anders, could be Gibbe. One of us three would answer the phone and you can talk to us one-on-one. In the meantime, have an awesome rest of your week. We will see you next time on Geared Up. Peace out.